The twin suns of Meridian Prime cast long shadows across Ezra Holloway's wheat fields, turning the golden stalks into a shimmering sea of amber and copper. Ezra wiped the sweat from his brow, his weathered hands gripping the old-fashioned scythe, a tool most would consider primitive on this technologically advanced agricultural colony. But Ezra had always been different, preferring the rhythmic dance of manual labor to the automated harvesting machines that hummed in neighboring farms. His isolation was deliberate. After 15 years on Meridian Prime, Ezra had mastered the art of solitude. The farmhouse, a weathered structure of reclaimed metal and local timber, stood as a testament to his stubborn independence. No communication arrays, no modern conveniences, just the land, his skills, and the occasional supply run to the nearest settlement. The evening silence shattered without warning. A sound like tearing metal erupted from the western edge of his property, where rocky terrain gave way to dense vegetation. Ezra froze, his hand instinctively reaching for the old pulse rifle mounted near the farmhouse door. Years of frontier living had taught him that unexpected sounds rarely meant anything good. At first, he saw nothing. Then movement, a massive form crashed through the undergrowth, leaving a trail of broken branches and scorched earth. Ezra squinted, trying to make sense of the shape. It wasn't human. Not even close. The creature collapsed about 50 meters from where Ezra stood, its massive form heaving with labored breaths. Metallic plates, some gleaming, others torn and blackened, covered most of its body. Multiple limbs were twisted at unnatural angles, and a viscous blue fluid leaked from several deep wounds. An alien. Wounded. Possibly dying. Ezra's first instinct was to retreat, to grab his rifle and ensure his own safety. But something held him in place. The creature's breathing was ragged, almost desperate. Its eyes, when they finally focused, held an intelligence that cut through the pain. "Help," the creature rasped, the universal translator embedded in its throat producing a sound that was both mechanical and strangely vulnerable. Ezra remained motionless. On Meridian Prime, helping a stranger, especially an alien, could be a death sentence. The ongoing conflict between human colonists and various alien species meant that every encounter was potentially fatal. The alien's eyes, deep amber with flecks of silver, locked onto Ezra. "Not military," it managed to say. "Refugee." Something in the way it spoke, the complete absence of threat, gave Ezra pause. He'd heard stories of the war, of course. Tales of brutal conflicts, of entire planetary systems reduced to ash. But this was different. This was a living, breathing creature asking for help. "Why should I help you?" Ezra called out, keeping a safe distance. The alien coughed, a sound that seemed to rattle its entire body. "Because, you can." Simple words. Profound meaning. Ezra's hand dropped from the rifle. He wasn't a hero. He wasn't anyone special. Just a farmer who had left behind a complicated past. But in that moment, something shifted. "Don't move," he called out. "I'm coming to help." As he approached, the alien's massive form seemed to relax slightly. Up close, Ezra could see the extent of the damage. Plasma burns. Shrapnel wounds. This creature had been through hell. "My name is Ezra," he said, kneeling beside the alien. "What should I call you?" The creature's translator flickered. "Krell," it responded. "Of the Voidborn Collective." Ezra had heard of the Voidborn. Nomadic. Technologically advanced. Often caught in the crossfire of interstellar conflicts. And now, one of them lay wounded on his farm, looking at him with a mixture of hope and resignation. "Well, Krell," Ezra said, examining the wounds, "this is going to hurt. A lot." The alien made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Pain is familiar." As the twin suns began to set, casting the farm in a surreal orange glow, Ezra Holloway made a decision that would change everything. He would help this stranger. He would keep this secret. Little did he know, the universe was about to get very complicated. The old medical scanner hummed with an ancient rhythm, its diagnostics casting a soft blue light across Krell's massive form. Ezra had converted his workshop into a makeshift medical bay, using salvaged equipment and his limited first aid knowledge to treat the aliens' wounds. "Your species isn't like the others I've encountered," Ezra muttered, adjusting a healing patch on Krell's metallic plating. The alien's breathing had stabilized, but the story behind those wounds remained a mystery. Krell's translator crackled to life. "The Voidborn are complicated." Outside, the meridian night pressed against the workshop's reinforced windows. Distant mountain ranges caught the moonlight, creating silver-edged silhouettes that seemed to hold their own secrets. Ezra knew about secrets. He had plenty of his own. "How did you end up here?" Ezra asked, cleaning a particularly nasty plasma burn. "Most refugees don't crash land on isolated agricultural colonies." The alien's amber eyes flickered, a complex dance of emotion that transcended language. "I was running," Krell said simply. "Not just from enemies. From a war that consumes everything." Ezra understood running. His own past was a testament to that, a former military strategist who had walked away from a conflict that promised nothing but destruction. He had chosen silence, isolation, farming. A life where the only battles were against stubborn soil and unpredictable weather. "The Galactic Concordance," Krell continued, "is not what most believe. It's not a peacekeeping alliance. It's a machine that converts entire species into resources." The words hung in the air, heavy with implication. Ezra had heard rumors, whispers among veterans and colonists about the true nature of the interstellar governance. But hearing it from a Voidborn refugee made it feel more real. "You're a deserter," Ezra stated, not as an accusation but as a simple observation. Krell's translator produced what might have been a dry chuckle. "Deserter. Rebel. Survivor. Choose your definition." As dawn approached, casting long shadows through the workshop, Ezra realized he had crossed a line. By helping Krell, he had potentially drawn the attention of forces far beyond this isolated farm. The Galactic Concordance did not look kindly on those who harbored fugitives, especially alien fugitives. "They will come," Krell said, reading Ezra's momentary hesitation. "The pursuit battalions are relentless." Ezra's hand unconsciously touched an old scar on his forearm, a reminder of his own past with military operations. "Let them come," he responded, surprising himself with the conviction in his voice. The next few days became a delicate dance of healing and hiding. Ezra used his limited communication array to spread false information, creating digital decoys that would misdirect any potential trackers. He learned more about Krell, about the Voidborn's complex social structure, their technological marvels, and the internal rebellion that had led to Krell's current situation. "The Voidborn were once explorers," Krell explained during long nights of recovery. "Now we are weapons. Biological machines designed for conquest and resource extraction." Ezra understood adaptation. Survival. The fundamental drive that pushed beings to transform, sometimes beyond recognition. As Krell's wounds healed, a strange partnership formed. Not quite friendship. Not yet. But something more than mere survival. A mutual understanding born of shared experiences with systems that valued efficiency over life. Neither of them knew it then, but the Galactic Concordance was already watching. And their quiet rebellion on this isolated farm would soon become something much larger than either could imagine. The first signs came with a distant humming, almost imperceptible. A vibration that suggested something was approaching. Something that would change everything. The first warning came with a distant vibration, so subtle that only Krell's heightened senses detected it initially. Ezra was in the south field, checking the wheat irrigation systems when the alien burst from the workshop, metallic plating shifting into a defensive configuration. "Incoming," Krell's translator crackled, the single word laden with urgency. Ezra had learned to trust the Voidborn's instincts over the past weeks. He dropped the maintenance tools and sprinted back toward the farmhouse, his old military training resurfacing with muscle memory precision. High-altitude sensor disruption. Stealth approach. Pursuit battalions. The Galactic Concordance had found them. Within minutes, Ezra had activated a series of sophisticated camouflage systems, remnants of his past life that he'd kept hidden beneath floorboards and inside seemingly ordinary farm equipment. Holographic terrain generators would mask the farm's energy signatures. Quantum interference fields would scramble standard tracking technologies. How long can we hide? Krell asked, his massive form moving with surprising grace despite recent injuries. Ezra's lips formed a grim smile. Long enough to plan. The first dropship arrived just after midnight. Silent. Deadly. Its hull absorbing moonlight like a predatory shadow. Standard Concordance reconnaissance, 5-person tactical unit equipped with next-generation stealth technology. Krell and Ezra watched from a hidden observation point, a reinforced bunker Ezra had constructed years ago, its existence known only to him. The dropship's landing sequence was clinical, almost mechanical. No wasted movement. No unnecessary noise. Pursuit Battalion Delta 9, Krell whispered, his internal systems analyzing the approaching soldiers. Elite Tracker Unit. Specialized in recovering high-value targets. Ezra understood the subtext. Krell wasn't just a refugee. He was something more significant, a key piece in a much larger galactic puzzle. The tactical team moved with unsettling precision. Each soldier linked through neural interfaces, moving as a single organism. Their powered exoskeletons absorbed ground vibrations, making them virtually undetectable to standard monitoring systems. But they weren't prepared for Ezra Holloway. We have multiple options, Ezra said, pulling up a holographic display of the farm's terrain. Confrontation. Evasion. Misdirection. Krell's translator produced a sound that might have been a chuckle. You've done this before. Survived impossible situations? More times than I care to remember. The tactical team began their systematic search, scanning equipment, analyzing soil composition, looking for any trace of biological or technological anomalies. They would be thorough. Relentless. But Ezra had spent years preparing for precisely this scenario. A series of carefully placed quantum disruptors activated, creating localized interference fields. The soldiers' advanced scanning equipment began to malfunction, showing conflicting data. One moment, the farm appeared empty. The next, it suggested multiple life signs in contradictory locations. Impressive, Krell murmured. Your preparation rivals Voidborn strategic protocols. Ezra's past wasn't something he discussed easily. But survival demanded context. I was a strategic systems analyst for the Colonial Defense Force. Specialized in unconventional warfare and defensive countermeasures. The tactical team's commander, a woman with cybernetic augmentations that seemed to blend seamlessly with her combat suit, realized something was wrong. Her neural link began sending warning signals, revealing the subtle manipulation of their perception systems. We're being played, she communicated to her team. Her voice was cold, professional. Activate full spectrum analysis. But by then, Ezra and Krell had already initiated their next move. A series of automated drone decoys launched from hidden underground silos, each programmed with complex movement algorithms. They would draw the tactical team's attention, creating a web of misdirection that would make tracking the true targets impossible. We can't stay, Ezra said, gathering a pre-prepared escape kit. They'll keep coming. Krell's response was immediate. Then we go on the offensive. As the first light of dawn broke over Meridian Prime, the farm was nothing more than an empty landscape, no sign of the intense technological warfare that had played out during the night. The pursuit battalion would file an inconclusive report, unaware of how close they had come to their true targets. But this was just the beginning. The Galactic Concordance did not forgive. And they certainly did not forget. The gathering storm was only getting started. The abandoned communication relay station sat like a forgotten sentinel on the edge of Meridian Prime's western mountain range. Layers of dust and oxidized metal told a story of neglect, but Ezra knew appearances could be deceiving. Especially now. "This is our lifeline," he explained to Krell, pulling back a concealed panel that revealed a complex network of quantum communication arrays. A backdoor into the Concordance communication networks. Krell's cybernetic systems hummed with interest. "You've been preparing for this moment long before we met." Ezra's hands moved with practiced efficiency, bypassing security protocols that would have stumped most advanced hacking systems. "When you've seen what I've seen, preparation becomes survival." The communication array came to life, a web of encrypted channels and hidden data streams flickering into existence. Krell watched as Ezra navigated through layers of security with the precision of a master strategist. Fragments of classified information began to surface. Deployment logs. Tactical communications. Movement patterns of pursuit battalions. But something deeper caught Ezra's attention, a series of encrypted transmissions that suggested a larger conflict brewing within the Galactic Concordance itself. "They're hunting more than just you," Ezra muttered, tracing a complex data pattern. "There's an internal fracture. A rebellion growing from within." Krell's translator produced a sound of careful consideration. "The Voidborn have long whispered of internal resistance. But speaking of rebellion meant termination." As they delved deeper, a comprehensive picture began to emerge. The Galactic Concordance was not the unified force it claimed to be. Multiple factions were fighting for control, with some advocating for more aggressive expansion, while others sought a more diplomatic approach. Krell was more than just a refugee. He was a key piece of intelligence, a living record of the Voidborn's internal struggles. "We need allies," Ezra said, his fingers dancing across the communication interface. "And I know just where to start." A series of encrypted messages began to trace outward, to old contacts, forgotten allies, individuals who had been pushed to the margins of the galactic society. Colonial rebels. Disgraced military strategists. Scientists who had refused to participate in unethical research programs. Each message was a carefully crafted invitation. Not just to resist, but to understand. The communication array suddenly pinged, an incoming transmission. Heavily encrypted. From a source Ezra hadn't expected. "Incoming quantum encrypted communication," Krell warned, his internal systems preparing for potential threats. The message was brief. Coded. But clear enough for those who knew how to read between the lines. "They're calling a meeting," Ezra translated. "A council of those who want to challenge the Concordance." Outside, the Meridian landscape remained unchanged. Rolling wheat fields. Distant mountains. But something fundamental had shifted. What had started as a simple act of kindness, a farmer helping a wounded alien, was becoming a spark of potential revolution. Krell's massive form moved closer to the communication array. "Are you prepared for what comes next?" Ezra's response was immediate. "I've been prepared my entire life." The first rays of dawn began to break over the mountain range. Another day on Meridian Prime. But nothing would be the same again. The resistance had begun. The underground meeting chamber was nothing like the sterile, high-tech environments Ezra had expected. Carved into the heart of an abandoned mining complex on Meridian Prime's largest moon, it felt more like a war room from humanity's oldest conflicts: rough-hewn stone walls, makeshift holographic displays, and a collection of individuals who looked like they'd been fighting losing battles their entire lives. 12 representatives sat around a circular table. Some were human. Others were species Ezra had only read about in classified military archives. A Zorian diplomat with crystalline skin sat next to a cybernetically augmented human colonel. A gaseous being from the Andromeda cluster flickered in a specialized containment field. Krell stood at the center, his massive form both a testament to the Voidborn's engineering and a symbol of resistance. The Galactic Concordance is not a governance, Krell began, his translator rendering his complex language into precise words. It's a harvesting mechanism. Species are not governed. They are consumed. A murmur ran through the chamber. This was more than a meeting. This was a tribunal of the marginalized. Ezra watched, his strategic mind analyzing every interaction. He recognized the colonel, Marcus Reiner, once the youngest 4-star general in colonial defense, now stripped of rank for questioning unethical expansion protocols. We have evidence, Ezra said, activating a holographic display that showed intricate networks of Concordance fleet movements, resource extraction patterns, and suppressed rebellion data. Not just allegations. Documented proof of systematic species elimination. The Zorian diplomat, Ambassador Zara Kl-Int, leaned forward. Her crystalline form refracted the holographic light, creating a mesmerizing display of fractured information. The cost of resistance has always been total annihilation. The cost of silence is worse, Krell responded. As the discussion intensified, a warning system triggered. Quantum-level disruption. External scanning. They were being watched. We've been located, Ezra said, his hand moving to an old military-grade quantum disruptor. Pursuit Battalion. Minimum response time, 17 minutes. The room transformed. From a diplomatic gathering to a strategic war council in seconds. Colonel Reiner spoke first. We need a message. Something that can't be ignored. Something that shows the Concordance we're not just hiding. We're fighting back. A plan began to take shape. Not just a resistance. A declaration. The Concordance had always viewed smaller species as resources. Expendable. Controllable. They would show them the true meaning of resistance. Outside the meeting chamber, the first wave of Pursuit Battalion dropships began their descent. Sleek. Deadly. Designed for total elimination. But they were about to discover that elimination was not the same as defeat. Ezra looked at Krell. A farmer and a refugee. An unlikely pair about to challenge an entire galactic system. Are you ready? Ezra asked. Krell's response was a low, resonant sound that translated to pure determination. The breaking point had arrived. The sky above Meridian Prime burned with the fury of 1,000 dying stars. Pursuit Battalion dropships rained destruction across the abandoned mining complex, their plasma cannons transforming stone and metal into molten chaos. But the resistance had anticipated this moment. What appeared to be a desperate last stand was, in fact, an intricate trap. Krell stood beside Ezra, their forms silhouetted against the cascading destruction. The transmission is ready, the Voidborn said, his translator rendering the words with surgical precision. Ezra nodded. This was more than a battle. This was a message to the entire Galactic Concordance. As the Pursuit Battalions unleashed their arsenal, hidden quantum relays activated across multiple star systems. Encrypted data streams, compiled evidence of the Concordance's systematic oppression, began broadcasting simultaneously. Military records. Suppressed scientific reports. Documented genocide of entire species. The truth was about to become impossible to ignore. Colonel Marcus Reiner's voice crackled through their communication channel. Initial projections suggest 82% global transmission success. They won't be able to suppress this. Ambassador Zara Kl-Int, her crystalline form now fragmented but unbroken, added her own confirmation. The communication networks are saturated. Every species with communication capabilities will receive our message. The battle was never about winning through violence. It was about exposure. About breaking the silence. Ezra remembered the day he'd found Krell, a simple act of kindness on an isolated farm. Who would have thought that moment would spark a galactic rebellion? The pursuit battalions, realizing they were part of something larger than their mission, began to hesitate. Some ships stopped firing. Others began broadcasting their own internal communications, questioning, challenging, revealing. "They're breaking," Krell observed. "Not through force. Through understanding." As the final transmissions completed, a strange silence fell. The destruction stopped. The fighting ceased. In that moment, everything changed. The Galactic Concordance would never be the same. The truth was out. The systems of oppression had been exposed. Ezra looked at Krell. A farmer. An alien refugee. An unlikely hero. "What now?" Ezra asked. Krell's response was simple. "We rebuild. Together." The first light of a new day began to break. Not just over Meridian Prime, but across an entire galaxy that had forgotten what hope looked like. Redemption had arrived.